Before we begin, yes, I got a haircut earlier today, so that's why my hair looks a lot different than it did yesterday. So, just wanted to get that out of the way. But other than that, welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. We're looking at the middle of March 1991 with March 15th. We've got 7 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump right on into it. And we're going to start off with the first movie, the biggest new release of the week. Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio in the courtroom thriller Class Action. So yeah, this is a pretty damn good movie. It's probably one of the best courtroom movies that you probably have never even heard of. It is a really good movie, and I think it's mostly because of the 2 performances by Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. You have the father and daughter on 2 different sides of the courtroom, and they have this case here, but they're also father and daughter. They're trying to keep their relationship together as father and daughter, but they have all these trials and tribulations that they have to go through. And I think that's a very good concept for a movie like this. And when you have 2 great actors like Hackman and Mastrantonio working off each other so well here, it really makes this work as well as it does. This is directed by Michael Apted, who, honestly, I've not really liked a whole lot of his movies, but this is probably his best film easily. The tension is very good here. The drama is very good here. You're invested in this case. You're invested in how this is all going to play out in the end. And it does lead to a pretty good payoff at the end, too. I mean, I think it's a very good movie. Definitely a movie that not a lot of people really know about. And it's really good. It's a really good movie. If you're looking for a courtroom drama that really is a lot better than I think a lot of people would have thought about, this is definitely one of those movies to check out. I'm sure you can find this on streaming somewhere. I'd say definitely check it out. Class Action, fantastic film. Definitely check it out. So, with that said, let's get right on into the next movie, and that is Jeff Speakman as the Perfect Weapon. Yeah, Chuck Norris, this guy is, and Jeff Speakman is not another one of those guys that can just sell a movie based off of his ability in martial arts. It's just like, no, this guy's not that good of an actor, and this is not really that good of a movie. It's one of those movies where it's just like, no gun, no knife, no equal, just try him. And it's just like, okay, and then the bad guy shoots him, and it's just like, there you go, the problem solved. It's just like, there's nothing about this movie that really... I'll take that back, though. I mean, the martial arts sequences are fine for what they are, but I've seen a whole lot better in other movies, and I guess the only other notable thing is that one of the great 90s songs of all time, The Power, is used extensively in this movie's soundtrack, and it was even in the trailer too, but I had to cut that part out because of, YouTube copyright issues. But I mean, if that song is really the only thing that's going to make you want to see this movie, then that's probably a problem with this movie. It's just not a very good movie. And like I said, Jeff Speakman just does not have a whole lot of personality to it. He's just like he's like one of those guys that you would see in a mock comedy, where somebody's supposed to play like this big action star, and when the cameras are off and he has to be in a real situation, it's just like, he's nothing like that whatsoever. It's just like, yeah, it just doesn't work very well at all. The Perfect Weapon is certainly not a perfect movie at all. In fact, it's a pretty lackluster movie, unfortunately. I mean, I guess people who like American Kenpo will definitely get into it, but I'm not one of those people, unfortunately. So, with that said, let's get right on into the next movie, and that is Robert De Niro in Guilty by Suspicion. This is directed by Irwin Winkler, who was a longtime Hollywood producer. He was the man who produced the Rocky movies. This was his first directorial effort, and I'd say it was a pretty good one. It's Robert De Niro putting in a really good performance in here, with a story that's actually pretty interesting when you really look into it. This story about this director who is accused of being a communist because he's hanging out during the time of McCarthyism and the Red Scare, and you have people trying to get him to crack and get him to release this information that he may or may not know about. And I think this movie does a really good job of keeping you on the edge of your seat. It's another really good courtroom drama, too. We've had 2 really good courtroom dramas on the same weekend. Again, this one's not really well known by a lot of people, but it is a very good movie. It's a very underrated movie, especially for Robert De Niro, who has this great resume on his list. But this is one of those movies that not a lot of people really talk about. I'd say definitely check it out if you get a chance to see it. Guilty by Suspicion. It's a really good film, a really good story to get you invested in. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's a very good, well-written film. Great cast, including Annette Bening, Patricia Wedig, Martin Scorsese has a cameo in here, Chris Cooper, Ben Piazza, Tom Sizemore, and of course De Niro giving a really good performance. It's a very good movie. Definitely check out Guilty by Suspicion. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which is Richard Grieco in If Looks Could Kill. Holy shit, that sucks. Oh my god, that was, that trailer alone was such a mess, and the movie isn't any better. I mean, let me put it this way. There was an animated series in the 90s called James Bond Jr., which is pretty much the same concept, except that, of course, this is James Bond Jr., and it takes place in Britain and takes place in the world of James Bond. That was more realistic than anything I just saw here, and yeah, this movie sucks. This movie is just terrible. I mean, what a waste of a cast, too. Linda Hunt, Roger Rees, Gabrielle Anwar, and you have Richard Grieco, who was alright on 21 Jump Street, but he was definitely overshadowed by Johnny Depp, and he definitely proves here that he is not a good leading actor, and it's not even that it's a ripoff of James Bond, but they're also ripping off North by Northwest, because basically this kid is mistaken for, is mistaken for a CIA agent and a spy, and it's just like, it's just not a good concept here, and it can be done well, but not the way this film was written. This movie just feels like they may have had a good idea to it, but it just doesn't work. It's a movie that's trying to play it a little too safe for the teen audiences, probably going to go see this, even though 21 Jump Street had ended by this point, but, oh, excuse me. But, yeah, the movie sucks. The movie is terrible. That trailer was terrible. Just a terrible, terrible movie. Yeah, I've got nothing else for you, so let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. John Cusack and James Spader in True Colors. Certainly a different movie from Herbert Ross than some of his previous works. This is the man who directed stuff like Funny Lady, The Owl and the Pussycat, Play It Again Sam, The Goodbye Girl, California Suite, I Ought to Be in Pictures, Footloose, Secret of My Success, Steel Magnolias, My Blue Heaven, and now we have this movie here, which is certainly a lot different than most of those other movies. This is mostly a kind of a political thriller in a way, with some very good ideas overall. I like some of the tensions that Cusack and Spader have throughout the course of the movie, but unlike the other thrillers we've looked at this week, this movie doesn't really have a good payoff at the end of it. It's just kind of like, it just kind of ends, and it's just like, so what was the point of all this? What was the intentions going into the ending of this movie? It's just like, Cusack, I don't know. I mean, Cusack and Spader do a good job here. You also have Mandy Patinkin in here. You also have Philip Bosco. But, yeah, other than that, though, this is a movie that I feel like could have been a lot more enjoyable with a better script than what they had to work with here. But it just kind of goes the predictable route at the end. It doesn't really give you a satisfying conclusion. It's just kind of like, okay, that's how this is really going to end. It's just like, I mean, it's unfortunate because there is some good ideas here, and you've got Cusack and Spader, who have been very good actors coming into this movie in the films that they have been in, but yeah, this is a movie that just doesn't work, unfortunately. It's a shame, too, because there is so much potential there, so that's my thoughts on True Colors. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Christopher Walken, Rupert Everett, Natasha Richardson, Helen Mirren, and The Comfort of Strangers. An overall pretty intense and pretty enjoyable erotic thriller from the early 90s. There were some good ones here. We've had a couple of decent ones like this. We had The Cook, the Thief, the Wife, his wife, and his lover. I completely botched that title, but you kind of get where I'm going here. Helen Mirren was, of course, in that one as well. And this movie is very good, too. It's a very good, well-made film, written by Harold Pinter, directed by Paul Schrader of American Gigolo fame. It is an overall enjoyable film. I like the visual look of the film. I like some of the conversations and interesting situations they put these characters into. And it is a really good, well-made film. It's a well-intentioned film that knows what it's trying to prove. It knows what it wants to say. And it is a very good-looking film. It's a very beautiful-looking film visually, with these great actors working off each other very well. It's a very good film. It's definitely worth checking out. The Comfort of Strangers. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Robot Carnival. Basically, Fantasia for robots. It's an anthology film with these 9 different directors who, many of them started off as animators with little to no directing experience, but they have their own distinct animation style and story. They do these stories that range from very comedic to mostly dramatic, and I really don't know too much about this because I haven't seen this movie, but the trailer for it doesn't look too bad. It's one of those movies that I've not heard too many people talk about, but it does look pretty. It does look very good. It does look like a really good Japanese animated film, and this was released in America by Streamline Pictures, who also brought us the American release of Akira a couple years before this, and yeah, it definitely looks like something I might want to check out one day. I'm really curious to see what kind of stories they tell here, and the animation styles look very unique, very different. Definitely something I'll put on my list of movies I gotta check out at some point, but as it is right now, it looks pretty promising. I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out one day. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Robot Carnival. So on that note, we leave you with another episode of Time About the Movies. And next time around, we'll look at the movies of March 22nd. 4 movies to look at, including the biggest new release, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. We also have Albert Brooks' Defending Your Life, in which he co-stars with Meryl Streep and Rip Torn, Mr. Johnson, and also Scissors, Sharon Stone's one of her last movies before she broke out with Basic Instinct the following year. So we'll definitely look at those 4 movies next time around. But other than that, though, thank you guys for watching. And as always, if you want to see more episodes like this, more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another new episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, as always, take care. Let me do that again. Until next time, as always, take care. There we go.